Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Here we are, Sof Shavua Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Vayikra. Many will be having the Shabbos Hagadol Drasha this Shabbos because of the way Shabbos falls next week. Really, Shabbos Hagadol is next week, but it's Erev Pesach. We have to daven early, all the complications of the way the calendar falls. Won't happen like this for another 20 years. So I, like many rabbis, will be giving the Shabbos Hagadol Drasha tomorrow on Shabbos Vayikra. It's also a rare occurrence that we have the Haftorah of Vayikra, which doesn't happen that often because often it falls on one of the special Shabbosos. So lots to be excited about. But we are going to conclude this chapter, and I think this will be a good natural place to break for our little Pesach hiatus, and we'll resume Emeret Hashem after Pesach with the preparations for Tefillah. So we'll finish off this chapter today. Amiras Kaddish al Mish Ein Lo Ben Hagadol. What happens if someone doesn't have a child to say Kaddish? Who said Kaddish? Ish o isha sheniftru v'hishiu achareim ben katan. Avshel hagil mitzvahs hu yomar alehem Kaddish. Let's say, lo aleinu, someone dies and there's a young child left behind, not yet bar mitzvah, but he could still say Kaddish. L'shem kach niskan Kaddish yasom. This is why it's called the mourner's Kaddish. The yasom is really the orphan's Kaddish. It's not accurately translated. We say mourner's Kaddish, but it's really orphan Kaddish. Shahare legadol, adav sheir lufnei tevil ili nishmat harav. Because someone who is of age, the better performance or the better aliyah for the neshama is to daven for the amud. Havalakatan she'eni yachal lias chazan tiknu Kaddish. But since the youngster who's not of age can't lead the services because he's not old enough, so that's why Chazal instituted this Kaddish yasom. And even if the child is not yet of the age of chinuch, makrim lo Kaddish, we read the Kaddish for him. And then he should repeat word after word for the Kaddish being recited with him. And they should answer Amen. If you've ever had to see it, we've seen, unfortunately, so many cases over the last 18 months, young children saying Kaddish for the young soldier fathers. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Let's say someone dies and has no children. Or they have a child, but the son doesn't want to recite Kaddish, doesn't feel it's important for whatever reason. If there's a grandson who is God-fearing, a grandchild should say Kaddish for the whole year. Let's say there's no grandchild, but there's a son-in-law. The son-in-law should say it. And this is allowed. The grandson or the son-in-law should say Kaddish or can say Kaddish if they have one of their parents no longer living, or if they get explicit permission from their living parents. But if, let's say, someone has living parents and the parents say, I don't want you saying Kaddish while we're still alive, so in that instance, you shouldn't say Kaddish for a grandparent or for a in-law parent. Let's say there's no son-in-law. Yomer ha'av al beno Kaddish. A parent can say Kaddish for a child. Kisha'av einu b'chayim, yomer lav Kaddish achiv o achayinu. So if, let's say, there is no parent living, then a brother or brothers can recite Kaddish. Kishakol ha'krovim halalu eini mecholom lamar acharav Kaddish. Let's say there are no relatives to recite Kaddish. You can hire someone from the funds of the deceased, someone who is God-fearing that will say Kaddish on his behalf. Better you should have someone who is studying Torah. And if there's someone in the family that you know that is a Torah studier, it's better than a stranger. It's important to pay for this, because this will ensure that this will take place. It's interesting, this is a parenthetical sort of parallel to this. A similar logic is used with people. I'm very much involved now in mechiras chametz and selling chametz, and there's always been a widespread custom that people give the rabbi money for selling chametz, and one of the reasons that's given is you want to make sure that he does it. Because, you give over the form, who knows, but the reason why people always give the rabbi money or they give money to tzedakah fund is that they make sure that the chametz actually gets sold. It's an interesting thing, like you wouldn't think he would do it. So the same thing goes with the Kaddish. You want to make sure it's paid for because you want to make sure that it gets done. And also, if you're helping someone who's studying Torah, someone who's needy, and you're giving them an extra ability to make money, make parnasa, what a great zchus it is for the niftar that you're getting this extra mitzvah along with it. Yelad katan sheniftar lo aleinu of avai, a young child that dies. If he was old enough, then the parent says Kaddish for him. And some say even for a young child. I think the haskama is that a child that lived at least 30 days is not considered a nefil anymore. We would recite Kaddish. If you're hired to say Kaddish, you could say Kaddish on behalf of many people. But knowing that at least one Kaddish a day, if you know who you're dedicating your Kaddish to, one for each. In other words, let's say you're doing it for 3 different people, and you're being hired to say Kaddish for 3 different people, you should know that at least this Kaddish will be for this niftar, this Kaddish will be for that niftar, etc., etc., etc. And I get asked this all the time, by the way, and I have reliable sources to which we turn when people need to hire someone to say Kaddish, and often it's sort of a hedge or a guarantee because there are times that people will be saying Kaddish, but they know they're traveling, they might miss, so just to make sure that Kaddish is always recited, it's always good to have that sort of backup. Ben what's Nachon Shem al Harav Kaddish? An adopted child should also say Kaddish for his parents. V'kavachomer shem ein lahem ben acher, shemitzvah sheyomer Kaddish al Harav hamamtzim. And certainly, if there's no other children, there's a mitzvah to say Kaddish for those who raised you. Ger tzedek tov sheyomer Kaddish al Harav hagoyim. And someone who converted to Judaism, very interesting, then even though his parents are not Jewish, should still recite Kaddish for his non-Jewish parents, even though he is Jewish. So that brings us to the end of this chapter. We've done quite a bit about the laws of Tefillah. We'll continue Amirat Hashem after Pesach. Wishing everybody a Chag Kosher v'Sameach, a restful and peaceful Shabbos. Please continue davening for Chaylei Tzvagan Israel, for Shlem Chol Tzvei Israel. Safe return of our hostages, dedicating them to Nishmat, Saren, Daniel, Shimon, Rav Drum, B'Shoshem, V'Damo. Vote OIC-MIZRACHI number 5. Please remember to do so. We'll see you here when we get back after vacation. Great Yantif, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.